The problem for Pierre Poilievre may no longer be just beating Mark Carney. It may be convincing his own MPs that he actually can.
And recent reporting, based on conversations with 17 Conservative MPs, found significant private concern about Poilievre's leadership and whether he will still lead the party into the next federal election.
Most of the MPs agreed with polling showing no obvious Conservative challenger to Carney. So, let's get into this a little bit, Eddie. See where we can go with it. 17 Conservative MPs were interviewed about the party's position in Poilievre's leadership. Most expressed concern about whether Poilievre can defeat Carney. The Nanos poll found 33% said no listed Conservative could defeat Carney. Poilievre was at 15% behind. Are you ready for that? Behind Stephen Harper at 16%. Now, current Nanos tracking puts Carney well ahead of Poilievre as preferred prime minister. So, we go into some things here. The caucus confidence. Are these isolated private concerns or the beginning of a broader leadership problem? And looking at the bench, if Conservative MPs are questioning Poilievre, who is actually capable of replacing him?
Yeah.
So the clock is ticking. Does Poilievre have enough time to turn the party around before the next election? And why does it matter, Eddie? Well, a leader doesn't necessarily fall because one poll goes bad. The danger begins when MPs start believing the leader cannot win.
True. So
it's getting tougher for Poilievre every day.
It's a credibility issue. I'm not talking about just Poilievre, but whether it's Liberal, NDP, or the CPC. When the confidence level of the MPs of their leader becomes a credibility issue, okay, and we saw this happen with Trudeau Jr., right? When it becomes a credibility issue within your own ranks, it very, very quickly becomes a credibility issue with the voters. Voters are not stupid. Most of them are not. They do listen. They do see what's going on. You have the diehard base, which will never change your mind about anything in terms of who they have voted for or who their families have voted for generations. But there's a huge, huge conglomerate of voters out there that pay attention and want to make sure that their actual vote counts for the way they want the country to progress, and they'll vote for that particular party. And I think you're right, Gary. This is, we've both been critics of Poilievre. We've both actually thrown accolades his way on numerous occasions in terms of some solid commentaries provided and critique for the present government. But it just seems that every couple of weeks, like he might make a gain here and there, and he'll lose 4 or 5 steps. He'll gain 2 and lose 4 or 5 steps. And he seems to have lost a few steps this week, especially when these new polls had actually come out. And when you're, like you were saying, when you're looking at Carney at 54% and Pierre Poilievre at just 18% in terms of popularity, and his number continues to sink. That's a significant issue. And polls are polls. And when you're talking about 17 MPs, through closed door discussions with whoever saying they're not happy with what's going on, and throw that on top of the 7 candidates that Pierre Poilievre has lost, 4 through floor crossings, 2 from stepping down, and 1 individual who chose to abandon his post and move to the Senate. I know Carney invited him, but he could have said no. What does that tell you? I mean, that's a lot of people jumping off the Pierre Poilievre ship, and the poor man just has not been able to stop the bleeding. And, it'd be great to understand, you and I as citizens, as to why are all these individuals leaving Pierre Poilievre? And it's not a slow progression. I mean, these guys, when they jump ship, they leave. And thank you very much. I'm going to be sitting with the Liberal Party. To a certain degree, can you say to yourself, can we ask ourselves, is Mr. Poilievre shooting himself in his own foot and not even realize that he's doing it? I don't know, Gary. It's such a tremendous fall from grace, first of all, in losing the election and the way he lost the election and the way he lost all those points, to his slow demise as a leader of the opposition, with the movement of people out of conservative seats into liberal positions. And now with this onslaught of, I mean, we're talking about one or two people that are not happy. 17 of them, Gary. That is a lot of people. And you know what? If there's 17 of them that were willing to speak, how many others are not speaking up, and are not happy with the way the Conservative Party is being led? And they got to think about the next election. I'm sure a lot of them are thinking about their own jobs the next time around, right?
Oh, for sure they are.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that they're wondering whether they can win their seat with Poilievre as leader. It's
Yeah.
just that simple. And for some of these politicians who need just one more term before they qualify for the pension,
Hmm.
and they still want to serve, but maybe once they do qualify for the pension, they'll finish out their term and then call it a day and look for some new blood. But if they're running under Poilievre, I don't know. Now, let me just couldn't find that other graphic, but it's okay because we covered all of the points on it anyway. I'll just bring this up. Okay, this is on the Canada 338 site. And press that button and I should be able to move things around a bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's look at first. This is a combination of a number of polls.
Hmm.
So the impressions of Mark Carney, 51% favor him as the leader. 31% have a negative feeling about Carney, and 18% are on the neutral side. And this is as of August the 10th, so 9 days ago. The impressions of Pierre Poilievre, 46% negative.
Unfavorable. Wow.
Yeah. Unfavorable. And that's up 3%. Whereas Carney is up 2% in his favorability. So 46% unfavorable. 35% favorable. 19% neutral. That's a significant deficit that Poilievre has in the eyes of Canadians. And we can't forget about Avi Lewis, leader of the NDP. Well, most people have already, but I mean, he's the leader of the NDP. 58% are neutral because they don't know the guy.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been really in anyone's face since winning the leadership. And I think that's going to backfire on the NDP. They wanted him to get out and, work at the grassroots level with the party to start building it up again and do fundraising. But that's all well and good, and you can do that. But you can't forget your bread and butter, which is the average person who goes to actually mark the X on the ballot.
And I
So
think
50,
I think he was encouraged to even go out and get through a by-election somewhere and actually get a seat in Parliament, which he doesn't have right now. And I think he basically said he wanted to just hit the door-to-door trail and start shaking hands and talking to people, which I think it's admirable of him, right? But I mean, at the same time, you need to have a bigger impact in the political sphere of things, because quite honestly, you're right. We really haven't heard anything from the man.
no. Just realized you're not there. Where'd you go?
Oh, I'm there somewhere.
There you
There I am. Okay.
are. Anyway, and
Yeah.
so 26% negative and 16% favorable. Not great
Hmm.
numbers. The 58%, though, that the reason he's not running, put it bluntly, is because there's no safe NDP seat that he could run in. He's
Oh,
already
okay.
lost a couple of elections out in BC, so
Right.
he, as leader, doesn't want to suffer another loss and have an embarrassing loss as leader. So that's where that's all coming from.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's that aspect of it. Now let's go and look at something else here. Okay, this I found interesting as well. This is bringing all of the polls together,
Right.
and they break it down as to the number of seats if an election was held today,
Hmm.
actually August 16th. Okay. Overall, it's projected that the Liberals would win a majority government with 219 seats.
Whoa. That I didn't expect that. That's a lot.
Yeah. The Conservatives right now would win 87 seats. The Bloc, 21. The NDP, 14. And what is that? The GPC? Oh, the Green Party.
Green Party, yeah.
2. So how does it all break down? Like you can see BC, Liberal, 29 seats, 7 for the Conservatives, and 6 for the NDP, 1 for the Green, Elizabeth May. Go to Alberta. Right now, 28 seats for the Conservatives, 7 seats for the Liberals,
Hmm.
2 seats for the NDP.
NDP, right.
Yeah. Saskatchewan, 11 seats for the Conservatives, 3 seats for the NDP. Manitoba, it's a little closer. 7 seats
Hmm.
for the Liberals, 5 seats for the Conservatives, and 2 seats for the NDP. Then you get into vote-rich Ontario, 95 seats for the Liberals, 24 for the Conservatives,
Wow.
2 for the Dippers, and 1 for the Greens. 24 for the Conservatives in a Conservative province provincially.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
they do
Gary,
have some strongholds in the GTA area. So let's look at
yeah.
Quebec.
Yeah.
Quebec Liberals would come out with 48 seats. 21 would be the Bloc, 10 for the Conservatives, and 1 for the NDP. Then you get into Atlantic Canada, New Brunswick, 8 for the Liberals, 2 for the Conservatives. Those 2 probably would be in southwestern New Brunswick in that area.
Right.
In Nova Scotia, looks like a Liberal sweep.
Sweep, yeah. PEI is a
11,
liberal sweep as well.
yeah, 11 and 4. And then Newfoundland and Labrador, 7 seats. Looks like a
Wow.
sweep there too. So yeah, 219 seats. You need 172 for a majority, as we all know, after the spring. And
Hmm.
so that's as of August 16th.
Wow.
That's pretty damning to Poilievre.
So if you look at it purely from a business perspective, let's say as a CEO, for example, and you look at that type of a graphic, what decisions do you think the CEO would have to make in terms of who's running his company? That projection is so damning, Gary. You kind of have to wonder with all the efforts of Pierre Poilievre, and you know what, you and I were really rooting for him to be a solid opposition leader. In some cases, he's shown it, and in a lot of cases, he hasn't. Where does the Conservative Party of Canada go from here? I mean, number one, the numbers can continue to decline. What you just showed me right now is a horrible projection for the Conservative Party of Canada. Where do you go? Where do you go from here? Do you do what the Toronto Maple Leafs did 10 years ago and basically retool, or what the Montreal Canadiens did 4 years ago and basically retool and just overhaul everything? And then is there an appetite for something like that? I don't know, Gary. It just doesn't look good for them from where I'm sitting. I'm saddened to see that because I really like to see a very strong opposition to any government that's in place in this country. And it just seems that with every passing month, the opposition seems to be having less and less of an impact in the day-to-day governing of our country, which is really unfortunate. So where do these guys go from this point? Like what do you think the next step would be?
Well, we had the leadership review back at the end of January, and he came out with, what was it,
88% or
88,
87%,
yeah,
something like that.
yes, to a very friendly audience.
Hmm.
But then he lost the election, blew a 25-point lead, lost the election, lost his own seat that he'd held for 20 years,
Hmm.
and had to go and scramble to a safe conservative seat, probably one of the safest conservative seats in the country, out in Alberta, and wins the by-election. But what has he done since? He is not doing anything for the party. So with that leadership review under his belt, my understanding of it is the caucus can band together and eject him. And you've got 17 people quietly suggesting that they're not happy with his leadership. How many more, as you mentioned in your comments, how many more of them are thinking the same thing, but they're just afraid to say it at this point in time? Do they realize that they have the power to put an end to it, stop the bleeding, and kick off a new leadership race, and hopefully attract some new blood?
And that's the whole thing, Gary, right at the onset of this segment. Okay, so they get together, they give him an opportunity to resign with grace, leave the party, leave politics gracefully, wherever the case is, and get some new blood. Gary, has anybody come to mind immediately that can say, yeah, this is the right guy for the Conservative Party of Canada, and this guy could potentially get my vote moving forward, and let's give the Conservative Party of Canada an opportunity to run this country for 4 years? Anybody come to mind? Anywhere?
Nope.
Anywhere?
We had this discussion back in January.
Yes, we did. I mean, am I right off the top of my head? The only person that I think would potentially give the Liberal government a run for their money, but I doubt very much is going to leave his existing position, is Ford of Ontario, if he chooses to run for CPC, which I don't think he has any will to do at this particular stage. Other than that, there is no name that comes across in my mind that can take over the reins of Pierre Poilievre. And I think, Gary, like you said, that's the fundamental problem of the Conservative Party of Canada. And do they have to do Montreal Canadien, Toronto Maple Leaf, and just rebuild? But that takes time. You have the will to rebuild.
And here's the other side of it. Yes, the Liberals have a majority at the moment.
Right.
But it's a very thin majority. And things happen, and all of a sudden we could find ourselves back into an election campaign because Carney lost his majority and lost a confidence vote, and here we are.
Yeah,
and
stuff can happen.
Who do the Conservatives have? The longer they put this off, the more they're destroying themselves in their chances of remotely bouncing back
Hmm.
and getting into the eyes of Canadians in a favorable manner.
Yeah.
Canadians have no love for Pierre Poilievre. It's as simple as that. The numbers say so.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm looking at your graphic, and we've seen thank you very much, everyone, for your wonderful comments on our platforms. We try to respond to all of them as best possible. I would like to ask, our viewers from Saskatchewan and Alberta. I mean, obviously, there's a tremendous base for the Conservative Party there, rightfully so. And the base for Mr. Pierre Poilievre. If you can come back and maybe make comment on the platforms and tell us why you feel so strongly that Pierre Poilievre is a fantastic candidate. What has he accomplished, and what do you think that he can accomplish? I know I get a lot of comments about Carney this and he's a communist and this and that. I don't really look at that. I'd really love for some of our viewers to actually come out and say, Eddie and Gary, thanks. You know what? We don't agree with you. This is what Pierre Poilievre, his credibility is in this area, or this is what Pierre Poilievre said he's going to do. Uh, I'd love to hear what that is because I really want to vote for the guy, but he just hasn't given me any reason to do so. And I think you mentioned the same thing, Gary. Please, Conservative Party of Canada, give me a candidate I can vote for. Yeah, if the viewers wouldn't mind, I'd certainly love for you guys to drop a line and tell us, what it is that you feel that Pierre Poilievre is doing absolutely right, or what he can do for this wonderful country of ours moving forward. I'd really like to see that.
So would I, and I look forward to comments this weekend, especially as we cut the show into a segment specifically dedicated to this issue, and then some of the shorts that we post as well, pull out of it and post. But the reasoning has to be more than just sort of a love fest, because I'm looking at it as a voter. And, as Eddie mentioned, I have said on a number of occasions since last year, give me a reason to vote Conservative. I don't see that. I don't, you may have some great policies, but they're not being delivered. They're not being promoted in the proper way. And the numbers, the election defeat and the continued polling numbers are telling you you have to get it together. And unfortunately, everybody reaches a point where they've reached their own level of, for lack of a better term, incompetence. So, and you have to make a decision. You have to step in and do something about it. And so the 17 MPs, you better keep talking to your fellow MPs, and you people need to now show some strength. Strength in numbers. It's not going to be pretty. It never is in politics. It's a blood sport. But he didn't have enough sense to step down and resign the night he lost the election. Think about that. Other leaders have in the past on both sides. When they've lost an election, they've stepped down. So it's time. If somebody doesn't have enough sense to get out of the way, then every once in a while you just have to push them out of the way. And that's,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean to the guy. He's devoted his life to public service. He's spent years in the House of Commons, both in government and now in opposition. But there comes a time, and the time is now. The numbers are there. So what do you, the takeaway from this discussion?
Well, Gary, the question isn't whether Poilievre is finished. It's whether his caucus still believes he's the best person to win.